I'm going to do the Monty Python. You guys don't know how lucky you are. Fran and Jenny and Ruth and Will, we were brought up in paper bags with, a bread crust to eat and no resources. And you are extraordinarily lucky. So lucky because you have Jenny and the Feldworks bookshop resource thing over there. And the other thing that I wanted to remind you about was in a spare moment, I've written it in green up there, the Feldenkrais Journal. So the International Feldenkrais Federation, of which the Australian Feldenkrais Guild is a member, is an extraordinarily good international organisation that oversees Feldenkrais and its promotion and its integrity from an international perspective. And people like Fran and Jenny have been integral parts of that organisation. And another of our mutual and much beloved colleagues, Cliff Smythe, has steered a resurrection of the International Feldenkrais Federation Journal, research journal. Got more than it's quite a narrative as well. So not that narrative can't be research. Whoops, just showed my petticoat there. So if you go to, Jenny's written up there, www.feldenkrais-method, was it a dot or whatever, .org, thingy, yeah, on the IFF page. Okay, so if you go on there, you'll see volume 5 is the latest journal, very new. Cliff also wanted me to remind you that there are 1 to 4 journals, and they were written quite like years and years ago, so there's been a big hiatus between 4 and 5. And it's very multidisciplinary, very multi-domained, the journal. A few of us have been involved with reading the, proofing and selecting the articles. So I think you'll find it a very interesting and diverse menu, which you can tap into. So I encourage you to look there. Yes? I don't know what you were mailed. No. FGNA journal. Yeah, so this has only just been released. There was a soft release about 6 weeks ago, and now it's out there. Some very interesting articles, very interesting interviews with some, big thinkers, etc. Bless you. I think that's it. All right, my fellow spiralers, lie down. So my colleagues at work, when they're trying to differentiate when I go away, because I go away a lot, obviously, about what my going away purpose is. And the categories usually are spiralling or holidays or other work. And Feldenkrais is spiralling. So when that's our code. I just say, yeah, it's spiralling. When I come here or teach anywhere else, it's not Feldenkrais, it's spiralling, which is quite a nice descriptor. So this would just fall in with all their fantasies that this is what I do when I go away. I just go away, lie on the floor and spiral. That's Murray Williams, Marissa, who's she just says, oh, you're spiraling. Can imagine her. She's so cynical. You're spiraling again, Susan. Yes, spiraling, Murray. So how are you lying on the floor? And if we direct attention back to the lines of the leg, the length of each leg, the length of each arm. And if you've got in the background, the trajectory of the spiral up to standing, there's this kind of folding and unfolding of the limbs, isn't there? This folding as in flexing, unfolding as in extending. the shifting of weight from one foot to the other, one knee to the other, one hand to the other, one shoulder to the other. And then again, sense the dimensionality of your pelvis. And if your attention goes to your favourite landmarks, what about the potential landmarks in between those? Maybe the body of the sacrum or underneath the wings. Or the underneath ring of the pubic bones or something like that. The ischial tuberosities, sit bones. And the basket of the ribs, sternum, you know, the tip of the sternum, the little zippy sternum, the little tailbone part of the bottom of the sternum, or the top where the notch is, manubrium, where it meets the collarbones. And the ribs that curve around, meeting the spine at the back. So again, you can tap into the most familiar, most accessible landmarks and then work out from there. So you can work from a position of knowing to help you enter into the parts that you don't know. And then the head, skull, its dimensions, and the face, with the jaw hanging at the front of the skull. And again, you can land your attention on the familiar parts and then work your way out to the less familiar. Just a couple. This sort of scanning, this filling in of the detail, to me has that sort of creative thing, you know, like a sculptor blocks out the kind of rough shapes first and then goes back and adds a little bit more detail and a little bit more detail, and things get more refined, more discernible. And that's how it is with our self-image, that we can keep going back. Or it could be the painter with a canvas blocking out, here's this rough area of colour and that, and then slowly refining, adding different tones, hues, so that greater and greater clarity emerges. Maybe that's what it's like writing music, I don't know, I don't have a sense of that. It's the same kind of process. Going from the whole, then adding detail, moving between the whole and the detail. And slowly come up to sitting. And sit with your knees to the left, so that you're leaning on your left hand. So it's like you're, from the original movement, your knees have flopped to the left and you found a way to sit there. And you're resting comfortably on your left hand so that your wrist doesn't feel like it's going to burst into tears any time in the immediate future. Which means you have to keep enough weight on your pelvis, right? It's this commitment of weight. This base is your base of support we talked about yesterday, maybe the day before. Is your weight distributed enough across this base of you, which takes in the, you know, the inner side of your right leg and the outer side of your left leg and your left hand, and how much of your pelvis can take weight on the floor. And then bring your right hand up in front of your eyes. so that your forearm is somewhat horizontal. The elbow is somewhat elevated. You don't have to be too pedantic about that, but there is this idea that your arm is kind of a carriage around you and your hand is flopped down in front of you. So that your wrist kind of drops. At the wrist, your hand drops. So that you can feel the weight of your hand. So this is, affectionately known as the dead bird. Have you heard that term? Yeah. Which is a bit, not necessarily the nicest, nice. You don't have to. But we have these shortcut kind of things. So carry your hand around. So you're going to think about your trunk, your shoulder girdle, your arm, your head, your eyes as one piece, right? And you carry around the whole lot to the left. And do it a few times, you can grow the movement. When you find the place where you're satisfied, so in Julie's words, where you start to move out of quality, so in this instance it might be that you notice that there's a discernible shift in effort, stay there. So find that point where you think, no, I'm not familiar with that part. It feels more awkward, or it feels more resistance, or I have to crank up the effort, or I'm not interested, or something. Something will tell you that you're not prepared to compromise and go further, because you will compromise this sort of, at the moment, amorphous idea of what quality is. And now when everybody's there, stay there. So you can drop your arm a little bit if it makes it more sustainable. Find a way where your shoulder girdle can be held that is sustainable. And then now just take your eyes to the right and back again, and do that many times. And again, the requirement is that you move your eyes as far to the right as is quality, as doesn't compromise quality, I should say. And do that a few times. So the movement, what might be the features of quality? That it's light, it's easy, it's reproducible, can be repeated, sustainable, maybe pleasurable. Come back to the center for a moment, drop your arm, just rest your arm. And now close your eyes, bring your arm up and turn to the left. Again, with that idea of finding where the range that is quality, that is in quality. And then open your eyes and see where it is. So if you're teaching this, this is actually also from the ATM book, isn't it? This becomes like the reference movement, or the test movement. I can't remember which one's which. Okay. And now when you get to that point again, so go back to the point where you feel like you're still within quality, but the qualities are, just pre-change. Stay there. Your arm, the hand, eyes, the trunk, stay there. So the eyes can use the hand as the reference, the sort of anchor point, and take your head a little bit more to the left. So the head keeps going, but the eyes stay on the hand. So it's just the head. And when you're satisfied with that, come back, rest your arm. And do that little check movement again. Before you lie down, just do the little checking movement again, the little reference movement. Bring your arm up, close your eyes, bring your arm up and sense your way to where quality starts to change. Open your eyes just to get the visual target for where that is. Lovely, rest on your back. Thanks for the cake and the goodies. I'm going to sneak around to your bags and turn all your phones on. Take them off mute. Food is so good, isn't it? Roll back up to sitting. Have your knees to the left again. So I'm teaching this exactly as he does in the book. Exactly. I'm trying to be as exact as possible. Makes you realise how much we embellish and change when you have to really stick to somebody else's thing. Okay, so you're resting on your left hand, and now place your right hand on top of your head and turn around yourself to find that place of quality, where quality starts to change. Stay there. And then, so breathing. I don't think I've even mentioned breathing the whole of today. Dock my pay, Jen. I didn't do the breathing. That's very naughty. Oh no, it was your responsibility. So here, take your right ear, using your right hand very gently, guide your head so that your right ear and your right shoulder come a little bit closer together. So how do you do that? Yeah. So you could, there's many ways, right? That right ear can go down to the shoulder, or the right shoulder can go up to the right ear, or they can do both. Both can do it together. So just tease that out. And that's, oopsie, there you go. I've added something that he didn't have. Sorry. Whoopsie. That's it. And notice as you do that, what happens down the right side of your trunk. And then you can grow the movement so that as you come back to the middle, you keep going so that your left ear goes towards your left shoulder. And with that amplification, you can pay attention to what happens on either side of your trunk, the left side and the right side. And then what the hell that's got to do with a movement in your pelvis? Maybe, maybe not. Pelvis? What pelvis? That pelvis. Slowly, slowly. So I know a lot of you did this lesson, yes. Was some, there's an aroma of one of the lessons yesterday in this movement. What's happening? So if you're thinking about maybe your two sitting bones in your pelvis, or the two wings of the pelvis relative to the ribs, just spreading your attention. And when you're satisfied with that, take your hand back into the dangly position if you don't like the dead bird, and do the little retesting movement. Close your eyes, slowly rotate your hand around with the trunk and the eyes and the head, so the eyes are shut though, and sense for yourself where are the sort of limits of your quality. another signpost for quality? Are they changing? Are they different? Are they moving in terms of space, or they're moving in terms of domain, what they are? And then you open your eyes and have a look, right, as your little marker, your little threshold, if you like. Good. Just rest in a different position. You don't have to go fully down to lying, because it's only a mini rest. Just a pause, pausette. Come back up to sitting with your knees to the left. And you have your left hand on the floor. Bring your right hand around so it can be on the floor somewhat near. So it actually essentially will be shoulder width apart, but your right hand is also on the floor to the left of you. Find a way, somewhere to the left of you. So find some way that it's comfortable. And now gently think about your trunk continuing to go more to the left. Do that a few times, just your trunk to the left and back, trunk to the left and back. Then the next time, as your trunk goes to the left, can your head and your eyes go to the right? It's a very Lolita kind of come hither into yonder thicket look. And keep doing that a few times, coming back so that the trunk comes back to sort of this asymmetrical middle, and the head comes back in line with the trunk, and then they go away from each other. And what's happening in your pelvis? Something quite super that allows your trunk to continue to go forward and around to the left, but your head can remain kind of individual in your eyes. So what happens along the length of your trunk? What happens in the right side and the left side? And can you track the movement of the pelvis? Leave that and do the little testing movement again with the hand dangling in front of your eyes. Eyes shut, turning around yourself, opening your eyes when you feel this range of quality, and leave it and rest on your back. Take a full rest on your back. Now here he's a little, well, maybe it's just my reading, my speed reading of it. Here he says something like resuming your original position, tilting your knees to the right and then the left and standing up. Well, my interpretation is he now takes us back into that original move of tilting the knees to spiral up to standing. But when I first read it, I thought, oh, now he's just doing the dead bird to the right. So we have a choice. If you feel like you would like to do the dead bird to the right a little bit with some of those differentiations, go ahead. And now you have to remember what the differentiations were, and you can just explore them. If you don't, you can lie there and imagine them if you don't need to. I'm not going to talk you through them because I'm on strike. So what do you remember? And of course, there's a million ways to teach this, and the permutations. 1,000,003 probably.
It's such a good lesson for a public workshop.
Fran just made the comment, this is a great lesson for a public workshop. You might remember back when you first did it, and some of the, there's a lot of ahas in this lesson when you first do it. You can't believe, I still remember that, couldn't believe when I discovered that my pelvis could roll over itself in that kind of diagonal. It's like, what the hell, why didn't I do that before? I still remember that feeling. Why the hell didn't I do that before? Like, what was I thinking? Clearly not below the waist.
Well, that the buttock could lift off the floor.
Yeah, that lifting of the buttock off the floor, that's it. Yeah, yep, that weight shift from one, onto that ischial tuberosity. Yeah, it is. Yeah, exactly. Yep. A lot of those movements. Fran's smacking herself on the forehead to wake up her frontal lobes. Mm-hmm. I haven't even mentioned your scapula, for example. That was a bit of an aha thing for me as well, to let go of my shoulder blade.
Oh, it moved.
That I had one. And here's somebody who studied anatomy for 2 years at university, dissected a full cadaver, didn't know I had a scapula. He was saying before about, you're lucky if you've got all that anatomy knowledge. Well, depends where the knowledge resides. If it's only in your head, it's not enacted, it doesn't help you move. Oh, it was Liz, yeah. As in Vanessa. She doesn't know who I'm talking about, Pastor Liz, do you? You've just completely morphed into my idea of you. And when you're finished with your little personal exploration on this side, you can lie down as well. Well, and this is a mark of your advanced status, that I can let you do these explorations on your own. This wouldn't be something you would do with the public necessarily, to set them up to reproduce something on the... This is so complicated to do on the other side without guidance.
Dead duck.
There's dead duck as well. Is that? Oh.
And I had someone in the group who was one of these people who tried to ban duck shooting.
Oh, yeah, dead duck. Yeah. I guess because it's that duck's head hanging there, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh. Was it in our training they called it dead bird?
Dead bird.
Yeah. And for those of you who use the physical exploration going to the right, what was the influence of that now as you're lying? And for those of you who continued to lie, did you do it in your imagination? Did you just take the opportunity to rest and recuperate? Already was clear. Slowly, gently roll up to sitting. Have your hands behind you and your knees standing on the soles of your feet. Now quietly, gently start to sink your knees a little bit to the right and then a little bit to the left. And your feet are far enough apart that the leg kind of behind can rest on the floor. And continue to grow the movement with this idea that you're going as far as you can with this idea of quality and not compromising. And then the next time, thinking a little bit further ahead, so that what was previously a resting point, like maybe with both knees on the ground, now isn't a resting point, it's a transition point that you pass through. So instead of it becoming the new kind of base, it actually is sort of a passageway, if you like. Which means that the arm lifts off, or then the arm then gets the next iteration, the arm gets a bit of liveliness and it comes around with you. It's not just kind of passively dragged around, it actually has this connection, and the pelvis continues to move. And then the next one might be that the trailing leg can also come around with the arm as it lifts, and lifting off the floor and sweeping around so that the foot finds the floor to stand. And that you're pivoting. But the point that you're pivoting on keeps changing, right? This is such a complicated move that you all navigating so well. The points that you pivot around, sometimes it's the hand, sometimes it's the buttock, sometimes it's the opposite knee, sometimes it's the hinge of the foot. And that this idea that each time that what was a resting point then becomes a transitory point. This dynamic. And that you can breathe. There you go. I've got my page, Jenny. I said breathing. Did you pay the oxygen bill today? So we've got enough oxygen? She's not listening. We're not on oxygen rations, in other words, today.
No, they've upped it up.
We've upped the oxygen rations up. We've paid for extra oxygen, so feel free to suck it in. No stinge. Yep. And you're starting to realise that you're social creatures spiralling in a spiral fishbowl. So now there's the orientation of you, and your eyes are there to help you orient to other people and their spiral. And how are you coming back down to the floor? Is the floor your friend? Do you thwack onto it? Do you greet the floor? Do you leave the floor as gently as you arrive back at the floor? Do you feel like a washing machine? Yes, that's one of, yeah, that's right. Yeah, the top loaders, that's right, yes. It'd be a bit odd if you felt like a front-loading washing machine. Sorry, there's a metaphor that didn't probably work if you've all got front-loading washing machines. And when you're satisfied, and again, what does satisfied mean for you? And if satisfaction is only going to happen with perfection, give yourself a break. So that approximation is enough for now. When it's enough for now, roll onto your back, have a full and well-deserved rest. So what I realised when I read this chapter with Feldenkrais teaching this lesson is that there's a play within a play here, right? Isn't there? It's like Midsummer Night's Dream. So as I've been talking, I've been thinking, Julie wants us to analyse the ATM, and of course there are two, right? There's the overall ATM of the spiral up to standing, and then there's the ATM within the ATM, which is the dead bird one, or the, what's it called in the ATM books? The head, eyes carry the head, or the head carriage or something. Can't remember what it's called in the ATM book. You got the ATM book there? Please. And I'm thinking that today let's analyse the play within the play. So let's be the rude mechanicals, those of you who know your Midsummer Night's Dream, and analyse the play within the play, because I think that's very interesting. How does that sound, players? Yes, we do one. Do that one first. We can come back to the spiral one later. It's much more complicated, and I think there are less signposts to discuss. He makes a lot of assumptions when he teaches that. Do you agree? Yes, rude mechanical. Yeah. There you go. Right, one of the rude mechanicals has come up with a very good reason, which I'll repeat for you, that's Shona, that he did the dead bird thing on one side so that when you did the bigger play, the difference was more obvious. Those of you who didn't do the dead bird on the other side, did you notice that? Well, you didn't do it was for a reason. Those of you who did not do the dead bird exploration on to the right, so you only did the dead bird exploration to the left. Did you feel more asymmetrical when you did the rolling up to standing afterwards? Was there a difference going to left as opposed to going up to the right? Clearly not.
I did it in my head.
You did it in your head?
Right.
Yeah.
I stood up to the left. So.
Maybe. Did going up to the left feel easier than going up to the right? Yeah, there you go. You've got a piece of evidence in your favour, Shona. Anybody else? No? Okay. All right, slowly stand up. And, you know, there is an obvious way that you might like to stand up. What's it called? Movement of the eyes, organise the movement of the body. Right. All right. Cool. And walk. So we did a big walk, a walking kind of reference before the break. So you can just re-explore that. And if you wanted to stop and spiral down to the floor, feel free. If your ischial tuberosities are itching to get back down onto the floor, feel free. How would you do that? How would you lower yourself to the floor? If I said all of a sudden sit down, let's say it was like musical chairs, but it was musical floors, and the music stopped, la 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 la, la 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 la, and then whew, you could spiral down to the floor. And then the music starts again and you spiral up. And it's quite fun on the basket weave tiles with socks on. Just putting it out there. If you need a bit of fun in your life, ask me. I'll give you all the clues.
That's beautiful.
Yes, yes, it is. Didn't notice that. It could be harder because you're not, you know, you were organised before to use the friction of the floor, right? So it's a different organisation. So this is adaptability. Is now, can you feel that there is a different friction relationship? So the spiral will have a, you know, there'll be a different force requirement and timing because the friction coefficient is different. You didn't even know there was a friction coefficient. But your brain calculated it anyway. See, knowledge, you know, what's knowledge? You just need the experience. You don't need to know about friction coefficients. You just need to know the experience. Okay. Now, Gideon, please find a group of 3. 3 makes a group, doesn't it? 2 is not a group, 2 is a pair, 3 is a trio. Is a trio a group?
Yes.
Yes. Find a threesome. And we are going to go through the play within the play, so the deadhead thing, which we found in the book. It's also in the ATM book, and it's lesson 10, the movement of the eyes organises the movement of the body, if you wanted to know. But you don't have to get that. Huh? What did you say?
Body. Body.
Yeah, the movement of the body. Yeah. What body? That body. Your body. The movement of Silvana's eyes or self. Ah. What? Really? Sorry. Oh, I didn't know this. Tell me about tell me what. Oh, you only have a body to, it's me. It's my whole self. Oh. Right. Doc Mapay again, Jenny. I forgot to mention breathing, and I used the B word. I didn't know, but now I know. Knowledge is everything. Okay, so in your groups of 3, you with your collective memories of that little sequence that we just did after the tea break. Remember the little sequences and write them down if you want to write them down, and then answer the so what question. So what? Why did he do that? Or it could be the WTF question. Okay, the raison d'etre of